real pat on the shoulder and a real thumbs up for yourselves, because it's not easy to align people to come on a Saturday morning to talk about a pretty important yet what I find a lot of people find very dry and boring topics, like for a Saturday morning, basically. Talking about sustainability and stuff like that is a little dry, but it's very important. And a lot of my focus on what I would like to talk about today would be more towards SDG goal number 17, which is on building sustainable partnerships and synergies as well. So, building sustainable synergies is what I'm going to be talking about today. And I do see some familiar faces and some familiar names in the groups. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me speak, although you guys already pretty much know a lot of the things that I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to dive deep into it. Right, let me just share my screen real quick. Mm. Okay, all right. So once again, very good morning to everyone. My name is Ashwin, and today I'm going to be talking about how I feel it would be a good way for us to start considering on how we can go into building sustainable synergies. All right. So first things first, before we go into talking about the sustainability aspect of it, I was going to zoom in to talk more about synergies and why synergies are very important. A lot of people tend to think that synergy is more towards like teamwork. It's more towards like a team building effort. How do you synergize with your colleagues and stuff like that? But I believe there's a lot more that goes into synergy, because me myself being a serial entrepreneur, naturally I leverage a lot on my partnerships and my synergies that I have with my partners. It is not possible for me to do everything on my own, but I'm also a type of person who likes to do a lot of things at the same time. Multitasking is like kind of my middle name, right? And I'm not able to do a lot of this until I've actually built proper, sustainable, and working synergies. Right. So starting from looking from the aspect of like, if you are talking about a business partnership, how do you want to go about having a good synergy? This very much also applies in like the sustainability angle and the sustainability work that we do as well. Because at the end of the day, for us to build all these sustainable synergies, we need to have these parameters that I believe would be very important to make it work. Okay, a lot more new familiar faces as well and familiar names. Hi guys, thank you for joining now, and I'm going to go to the next slide. Yep. Okay, so teamwork is what makes our dreams work, but we are merely a drop when alone, but together we form like an ocean of possibilities. Because the idea of what we want to do in teamwork and in synergy, all right, is a little bit more focused on how we can do a 1 + 1 = 3 rather than 1 + 1 = 2, right? I know I've got a doctorate in front of my name, but it seems like my maths is pretty bad, because how is 1 + 1 = 3? Okay, this is very figuratively speaking, lah, metaphorically speaking, we are talking about how having two people come together, it's not just about like fulfilling each other's gaps, but also fully leveraging on each other's good and best potential to actually extend and go above and beyond. Right? But some people would say that synergy is a code word that lazy people use when they want you to do all the work. Well, I used to be the big snail for quite a bit in this whole synergy game also at one point. Now sometimes I'm the small snail, because like I'm latching on other people's works and whatnot. But this is meant to like just say that like this is what people think synergy is, but in actuality there's actually more that goes into it. Okay, so I kind of fell in love with the concept of synergy because I believe very strongly in the 7 habits of highly effective people. All right, so be careful, 7 habits of highly effective people, not 7 habits of effectively high people. I know a thing or two about that also, but we're not going to get into that today. All right, so in the 7 habits of highly effective people, all right, habit number 6 is to synergize. And when I first read about this and I first like started to try implementing this, I actually realized that like habit number 6 is the most interesting habit of all, because actually habit number 6 encompasses all the 7 habits in that one habit itself. All right. If we go through every single part of what is needed to form a good synergy, you'll realize that all seven parts of it is actually needed in forming this good synergy because we're always stronger together, right? And I believe that it has got a lot to do with relationship building as well. So the word synergy basically comes from a longer term, which is called synchronous energy. So we believe in vibes, we believe in energy, we believe in like how we can set this right kind of mindset or the right kind of like vibe or the right kind of setting before we can move forward and go deep into building all of this good teamwork and this good synergy. So by having a synchronous energy with your partner or who you want to have this synergy partnership with, it's very important in order to understand this basic concept. It's about how you want to set yourselves to have the same energy. I always believe that like if you're looking to build synergy with someone, it's not about tolerating the other person. I'm not saying be an intolerant fella. No, I'm not saying that. But if you have to think along the mindset of like, okay, we need to tolerate this. Okay, this person is like this. It's not usually how I do it, but just to make things work, I guess I'll tolerate it a little bit. This goes against the concept of synergy mainly because the whole idea of when you need to tolerate means you're compromising something. So when you are coming into the picture, your flaws and your what you're good at, all right, your skills and your flaws are both what defines you. You build the best synergy with people who can actually understand your flaws and use your flaws to basically make the whole situation potentially better or fix the flaws that you have without changing how you are doing good at what you do. All right. So to technically and comprehensively evaluate the synchronous energy, I have suggested a few key parameters to consider. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of like using what I forgot the name for this, but basically using like one full word and breaking it down using each and every letter into like different meanings and stuff like that. So actually, if we take the word synergy itself, every single letter in the word synergy basically explains what it takes to form the synergy. All right. So this is one very easy way to understand. So you don't need to like snapshot this or take a picture or try to hafal it to sit for an exam or anything like that. In the word in the word synergy itself, each and every one of the letters in synergy has its purpose. All right. So S, the first S is basically how to be strategic and sustainable. Y is how you want to have youth or young energy, youthful energy, basically. N is for your network or your networking prowess. E is for ethics or ethical practices. R is for responsive or resourcefulness. G is for geographical location. And Y is yes. Yes, why yes? Basically to put out and have a positive attitude and a positive outlook in all the work that we are looking at doing. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through each and every one of these letters, and each and every one of these letters would also have habits which are related and got to do with the whole concept of synergy as well. Okay, we start with the first S. So S is think strategic partnerships along the lines of 1 + 1 = 3. All right. So it's not just about filling an opportunity gap, but additional value is also very important when we are trying to set value propositions to the table. For example, if we're looking at like forming like a nice synergy, let's say RXA, for example, right? RXA as an association is a very good platform to create awareness, to open a lot of doors, to basically connect with like industry players, with universities and stuff like that who are looking along the sustainable region or about climate change. Anyone who's basically interested on climate change. But in the association, you would have people who are focusing on different parts of the supply chain. One person can be focused a little bit on the carbon market. You have one person maybe a little bit more focused on like governance. There's one person a little bit more focused on like social impact and stuff like that. So when you actually bring it all together, you can actually create a very valuable commodity and a very, what do you call this, inclusive economy as well. Because going into the carbon credit market, we do need to have all these different components and parts as well. So from industrial people who are coming and dealing with the likes of RXA, what they can do is, in order to consider forming good synergies, you need to actually think win-win. So thinking win-win is trying to just say that like what is in it for me, what is in it for you, together it's more than what's in it for us. What else can we bring to the table? That's the whole concept of like how I look at trying to form strategic partnerships. And once the strategy is in place, it's very important to think about how you want to keep long-term relationships which does not deter over time or deter over negligence. So sometimes we, being Malaysians, I kind of admit that I'm kind of guilty of that as well, where we get very excited at the beginning. We have this thing called hangat hangat tai ayam, but at the beginning we're like, oh, super excited, this is going to work, we can get ourselves involved in all of this. But over time we realize that like, if they're not pushing, I'm not going to push lah. Why are they so silent about it? Okay, I'm not going to focus so much on it. I wait until they are ready, then I'm also will be ready. In the meantime, I'm going to occupy myself with other things. This is not a very sustainable way to look at relationships, because over time, unless you guys have like financial obligations that you have to meet each other, you're going to forget about it and you're going to just drop it. So very important when you are trying to form sustainable synergies is you need to also consider beginning with the end in mind, which is habit number 2. All right. So what is the end goal you're trying to reach from this? Yes, we are all trying to make the world a better place, but how? All right. We can't just generally feel that like, oh, let's just create like some simple economy work where, or some simple community work where we get like a big corporation to spend a bit of money and we do some tree planting programs and that's it. How is this going to be a sustainable synergy? Like, are you aligned with the goals of this corporate that's looking to pump in the money for the CSR? And is their goals aligned with what the community is looking for? And you as the program implementer, are your goals aligned in getting all of this in place? Because if you don't have what is your end goal, at least not for the end of the whole project or the end of your life, but at least for the end of like your existing engagement, it's going to be quite difficult. So you always need to begin with the end in mind. All right, next is youthfulness or young energy. All right, guys, I'm not trying to be ageist right here. Okay, I bet a lot of people who are on this call right now are probably around the same age as me as well. And as you can see, the picture of this Sumbu over here, of this old lady over here, this Nene over here, basically, there is no excuse. So this is something that if some of you know my mom personally, my mom is a person who's like the true epitome of lifelong learning. She has been studying and learning and working and going back to studying again for the longest time in her life. She's 72 this year and she just graduated, not really graduated, like she just completed her chambering in the law sector, because when she first moved to Sarawak before I was born, she did her law degree in KL, not able to practice over here. After about 30 over years of working in Sarawak and doing a lot of other things, she decided to go back and pursue that, because finally she can be retired and she can focus on doing things that she likes. And the only way to drive her to go into doing these things instead of being upset and coming and making my life very difficult, demanding for additional grandchildren, is that she has a young energy and a youthful spirit in herself in what she wants to do. So this is a very, very important ingredient in ensuring synergy can be achieved, because youthful energy and young energy is not just about being positive, it's also very much about being proactive. All right. So being proactive means that like you don't have a lot of things which are stopping you from wanting to proceed to do what you need due to some obstacles or any obligations that you need to do. You would actually find ways to get it done. It's not about being reactive, it's about being proactive. So when you see a situation, you're not going to react to the situation when the situation happens. Being proactive is like before the situation can happen, you kind of have a set of things on how you want to go about solving these things. And this is a very important component in forming synergies as well, because besides beginning with the end in mind, you also need to do a lot of strategizing and stuff like that. So if you don't have a open mind for strategization, the synergy is not going to form very well. Okay, the next part is network or networking prowess. All right. In essence, like we basically have to also have good patience, perseverance, and humility to understand the partners in order to reach the kind of optimum value to have the best kind of synergy. Okay, so having patience and perseverance, it's not the same as tolerating. I am not a huge fan of like tolerating or finding ways to need to tolerate your business partners or your synergy partners. Not to say that I'm not a tolerant person or I bukannya mengamalkan sikap bertoleransi according to pendidikan moral, you know. But the whole idea at the end of the day is that like we don't want to be wasting time for unnecessary things where we can actually achieve so much more with the right kind of person or the right kind of community or the right kind of connections that you have. Right, that's the whole point of it. And how do you actually build this? All right, if you see the graph that we have over here, all right, basically you can see what it says as trust. Oh, sorry, I think it's on the wrong. There we go. All right. Okay, what you can see over here is like trust is up on the y-axis and cooperation is up on the x-axis. All right. When you have low trust with low cooperation, you tend to get very defensive with your communication. So it becomes a win-lose kind of situation. When you are halfway through your trust, you don't fully trust the person, and you also do your cooperation also kind of halfway, you reach a respectful part where you have to compromise. So this is what we tend to mostly do, thinking that like, oh, you know, we are tolerating our partner, we are working with all of that. So we sometimes tend to be stuck in this part, and this is very normal. In order to get from here to here, sometimes either some sacrifices need to be made or some mindset changes. Mindset changes is ideal, obviously, because when you get you and your potential synergy partner to be on the same thought process, be on the same mindset, it's obviously going to be good. But in a lot of cases, sometimes letting go of this toxicity and then focusing on other things is sometimes or most of the times what you need in order to reach a synergistic kind of communication. That's what we tend to want to aim for at the end of the day, because we want to go into a win-win kind of situation. All right. So this is aligned with the habit where you need to seek to first understand, then to be understood. Okay. It's not a non-zero sum game. I mean, it's not a zero sum game. It is basically a non-zero sum game. All right. So what's important is you need to have transparency, and you also need to have a good connection or network to basically make all of this work. Okay, this is pretty straightforward lah, and I don't think I need to go too deep into this. Basically, be ethical lah in whatever you are doing. The one good reason why you want to build good synergies based on ethics and based on truth and transparency, because if shit hits the fan, for the lack of better terms to use, right? If shit hits the fan, you need your partners to know what is going on. You need your partners to be on the same table and the same picture as you, on the same page as you, so that you can very automatically be able to tell the same story, to basically understand or make people understand or to explain your context. If you were doing some shady stuff without your partner knowing, or even if you're doing non-shady stuff with your partner knowing also, if you're doing shady stuff without your partner knowing, or if you're doing shady stuff even with your partner knowing, it's very important that like you need to get your stuffs aligned, and the best way to do it is always by being ethical from the get-go. Because one thing, I mean, this I'm sure most of us who are in the business line, we know sometimes we fake it till we make it. There's some lies that we tend to tell, and after some time we can't even keep track of the lies. But when you're telling the truth, it's very easy, because there's nothing to keep track of. It's basically the truth, right? And it's basically transparent, right? So this obviously is very much on the surface level, what I'm talking about and the examples that I'm giving. But in a deeper perspective, what I would like to also highlight is that sometimes we think that our families and friends tend to be the best synergy partners. I would strongly disagree on that, because there are many a time where I find actually good synergy partners who are neither my friends before we started working on a synergy together, nor my family. With family and close friends or family friends, sometimes what happens is that like there's a lot of nuances, and there's a lot of like not to say hidden agenda lah. There's a lot of like not fully transparent things that we don't share. So we take a lot of things for granted, and we tend to assume a lot of things, thinking that like we know this person, and this is how the person is going to react and behave and stuff like that. So how a person reacts in a business and how a person reacts in their personal life, in a lot of cases, it's very different. So even most recently also, like I kind of had like a slightly messy breakup with one of the companies that I've been running. And that's when I realized that like, okay, I started this company along with friends, and we had all these ideas, we had all these notions, we thought this was going to work. After some time, our biggest argument and our biggest disagreement was our ethos of the company, or our mission and vision. Like, what was our vision for the company? My vision for the company was different from that person's vision of the company. And it's kind of sad, because 8 years of running the company, at this stage, suddenly we have difference in vision, means there was something not set very properly from the beginning. So I too am sometimes guilty of thinking that I have a very synergistic partnership or sustainable partnerships, which turned out to not be the case. So we have to be kind of open to that lah. And in a lot of cases, keeping utmost professionalism and having contracts and proper legality set in place is very crucial for ensuring both parties like can focus on getting the intended results that you are looking at getting lah. This is like really really important as well. Okay, R is resourcefulness and being responsive. Okay, my dad used to always tell me this thing where they always say that time is money, but speed is a lot more money as well. And what he means by that is not to be the quickest to reach the destination or to be the fastest driver on the car or anything. It's more like you need to be very responsive and you need to actually predict and be ready for the changes in the climate or in the scene or in the trend of your business. All right. In a lot of business trends, if you would see a lot of market leaders already pre-planning or already knowing which direction they want to go before they became the leaders itself. These are usually visionaries who have already kind of seen the future a little bit, but I'm not really talking about like foresight or looking into the future. I'm talking more about like before these foresights and these things come, there's a lot of telltale signs, there's a lot of clues, there's a lot of little things that other people may not realize, but you are already realizing and responding to it. And by responding to it, it tends to make you to be one of the biggest leaders in the market as well. This I can share by example because like through my company, EB Tech, I formed very good synergies with my partners and our partnerships are actually growing. So we're getting more founders to come in. We're getting more CEOs, COOs, CTOs, and all of that to actually come and join us to make this a bigger thing. And as we start being very responsive in seeing where the gaps are and we absorb all of these things, we were actually one of the few who are able to be kind of ahead of the carbon credit market within this region as well. So much so that we are already being engaged by the likes of like local carbon credit players and local carbon market developers as well in order to advise them on how we want to go for it. One of the biggest things that I felt was a good idea that we did was the moment there were opportunities outside of Malaysia to go and tackle the carbon market, we immediately hopped on it. Instead of saying that, oh, we're a Sarawakian company, we're a Sarawakian startup, let's just focus on like solving our problems. We need to excite our ministers, we need to excite our stakeholders within our state. But that's not the case when we're talking about climate change and you know the green economy and the green financing and stuff, because this is a worldwide game. So if you're not responsive, if you're not up to date, if you're not going to be resourceful, you're not going to go very far with this. So this is very much aligned with the likes of habit number 7, which is to sharpen the saw. Okay, so geographical location or geography is basically this for me. I'm a little bit biased because obviously I love Kuching. Like I said earlier, what I'm talking about building these synergies is not in terms of like you are limiting your clientele to within Kuching only. I'm talking about like finding your partnerships and your partners and your potential synergies. You'd be surprised. A lot of it is just around you. Okay, so I think a lot of you probably would have realized or noticed that Kuching is very special in the sense that yes, it's a small town. Yes, everyone kind of knows everyone, but do you still meet new people at least, at least one or two new people in a week or not? You'll be surprised. Like I think a lot of the people here also probably have maybe heard of me or seen me before, but you don't know me personally or have not actually met me before. So Kuching is so amazing that yes, you do know everyone, but you still kind of meet new people every time you go to a new event. I've never gone to like an entrepreneur event or like a networking event where I knew literally every single body in that event. I would probably know 80% of the people there. I'll probably know 40% of the people over there, but still going to be a group of other people that I've never met before, that I've never mingled with before, that I've never networked with before. So taking that into mind, you always need to have the concept of like when you want to network or when you are excited or ready to go build new synergies. And when I talk about synergies, it's not just partnerships. Synergies also can be your clients. Your clients must have good synergy with you as well. Your stakeholders need to have good synergy with you as well. Your subcontractors need to have good synergy with you as well. Because all of this works very well with partnerships. You need to be partners with the people that you work with. So let's say you already got a very good synergy business partner, you think everything is good ready and all of that. When there are networking events out there, you say, yeah, no need lah, I'm not looking for partners and all. Wrong idea, wrong concept. Every time there's a networking event, always explore that opportunity. I do sometimes admit that, in coaching, we do have sometimes networking events that tend to clash with each other, or like there's no different joining this group as compared to this group. This business organization says that this is what they have to offer. This one has what they have to offer, and they look like sometimes they're competing with each other instead of trying to work together and stuff like that. Put those politics aside. You set your mindset towards like how you want to build your synergy. All right. So remember, it's location, location, location. Yeah. Okay. Next is, yes, having a very positive attitude. Okay, this goes without saying lah, obviously, because like you need to be positive in order to build like a synergistic system. And we have this thing in improv where we are always we have this thing where always say yes, never say no. When there's a possibility, say yes, and I can do so and so and so. Yes, and I may have some issues with this, but I would love to do. Yeah, these are the things that like you need to have a very positive mindset. In my case, being both an improv and stand-up comedian, it's a little bit easier. I tend to say yes to a lot of things, but this is also how I get scammed a lot lah. So that's where I also need to know when to say no as well. But in essence, by having like a good positive attitude moving forward, this is what you need to consider, and this is how you move forward in the game. Okay, so Mother Teresa says, you can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do, but together we can do great things. All right. So now I'm going to get into like the second half of my presentation, which is going to sound a little bit more salesy because I'm talking about my company and the things we do. But through this, you get to understand that like how I was actually able to implement a lot of my synergistic capabilities to find synergy partners and to see how we have actually grown from a small startup to one of the leading carbon credit developers within the Southeast Asia region. Okay, so Evolving Brilliance Technologies is basically a company which is focused on developing AI solutions for environmental sustainability. All right, very fun fact: the founder and I, we bumped into each other over like a video call that we had when we were supposed to be the panelists for a forum for social entrepreneurship. Both him and I are serial entrepreneurs, so we run our own businesses. We do like a lot of our own ventures, our own endeavors and stuff like that. And what happened was that we just started chatting while waiting in the waiting room before we were invited to speak, our part and all of that. And we actually found that like there were some gaps that I could fill for him, and there were some gaps of mine that he was able to fill for me. Very quickly, we had this little testing of seeing whether the synergy works or not, and we immediately formed the company, and the rest is history. Now, a lot of my efforts and my energies is focused on this as compared to my other companies, which is quite exciting, and I'm going to get deeper into that. Okay, so we are called Evolving Brilliance Technologies, in short, EBTech. All right, we are based in Kuching, Sarawak, but we do have a KL office as well. We were formed in November 2021, and yeah, you can also go find us on LinkedIn as well. So we're an AI company that focuses on the sustainability solutions. We operate across Southeast Asia. So our projects range in Malaysia, in Thailand, Indonesia, and Taiwan as well. We are opening a branch in Singapore basically to do our fund management, because a lot of the investments that's coming in for our carbon credit projects are basically going to be parked in the likes of Singapore. Right? So we comply with the Vera standards, and we are also ISO certified also at the moment. Okay, where do we come in terms of our value proposition? So we basically do carbon project development funding. We basically bring in funders and investors to pre-buy credits, and also to invest in carbon project development across the Southeast Asia region. All right, so we work quite closely in also arranging pre-purchase agreements. So this means that like before the carbon credit sector, before the carbon credits has been fully materialized to be put on the trading platform, some of this will already be pre-purchased by our investors as well. Okay, but before I go further, I just realized I forgot to ask this, because I'm used to doing this in like a live setting. This is honestly the first time I'm doing it in like an online setting. So I kind of went like a train, one after another, nonstop. Can I have a show of hands of like how many people knows about the carbon credit market? Because if not, I'm just going to take a short while to explain how carbon credits work and what's the green financing concepts behind a carbon credit market. If you have heard of it before, maybe just put your hands up. Yeah, raise your hands. Okay, so we have like two people raising their hands. Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, thank you, Dixon. Okay, cool. So I'll just briefly summarize a little bit on how the carbon market works. All right. So as you all know, in a couple of years' time, by 2030, there's going to be like a worldwide call to basically have a carbon tax or carbon levy that's going to be imposed on the very high emissions industries, such as airlines, plantations, agriculture, um, oil and gas, transportation, and stuff like that. So naturally, in order to go into offsetting all of this carbon emissions and to go down the decarbonization line to reach net zero goals, it's going to be very difficult because let's face it, reliance to fossil fuel very much is the reason is because it's very cheap. Number two, also, it's that it's very highly available in the sense that we already have a lot of existing platforms and existing systems that basically allows for fossil fuel and all of that to be used. Okay, and number three, also, like the innovation towards fossil fuels is very low, so you don't actually have to do a lot of work to innovate to actually go into like expanding the market and whatnot. So this is all good, but it's very bad for the environment, it's very bad for longevity, for societies, and for international governance as well. So when we're introducing all these new concepts and getting them to use renewable energy and whatnot, there has to be some level of incentivization that needs to work. There needs to be some level of incentives to make these companies need to change, right? The companies that are needed to actually purchase these credits are the ones that are emitting so much carbon dioxide that they cannot just overnight practice net zero goals and then make the world a better place. It's going to take a couple of years, at least 10 years, and also up to 20 years. So while we're getting to the 10 to 20 years, how are they actually able to offset some of it? Although they are already doing some practices, we incentivize some of their work by actually denda them a little bit lah. You need to pay a carbon tax. And how you want to offset this carbon tax? If you cannot change your operations immediately, use that money to basically purchase credits from places which are carbon negative or which are very sustainable in their activities or which are involved in a lot of community and social initiatives and social impact work. This is very important to understand because a lot of activism that's going on right now um, are talking about like, oh, carbon credits is basically a license to pollute and stuff like that, which is really not the case, by the way, guys. If you do have people who are saying this thing, please go and advise them that like carbon credit market, for anyone to even come or play with the carbon credit market, you already must reach a certain ISO standard. You must already reach a certain level of like already practicing sustainable activities. You're just not able to practice fully until you reach a net zero before you can go into this, right? People tend to claim that carbon credits is also a very, it's a very modern way of land grabbing and greenwashing and all of that. But I really beg to differ on that because the kind of work that you're supposed to be doing in the carbon credit sector needs to involve and include the whole supply chain, which also includes the true custodians of carbon in this part of the world, which are the indigenous folks, the kampong folks, and the people from the village who truly owns the land and wants to be part of this whole carbon market, supply chain. So I'll get into more detail of that later, but I hope this sort of summarizes what the carbon credit market is like and what is it about. And now I'm just going to continue about the company lah. Okay, so we basically bridge buyers and sellers as well. Collectively, we've got about 20 plus years of experience. Yes, we are a startup. We started in 2021, but collectively amongst us founders and our researchers and our strategists, we have had more than 20 years of expertise in this. Okay, so we are compliant not just to Vera, but also to gold standards, Puro Earth, and also carbon standards as well. All right, so we uphold a very high commitment towards transparency. This is very, very important. Okay, so we also do a lot of social and community impact as well, where we have a lot of community engagement focus on conservation. We need to add one of the reasons why we go very deep into this is also that when we are looking at selling the credits, our credits are a lot more valuable and are of higher value with these additionalities being added in, which is basically the social impact and the community impact as well. Uh, Then again, we're not just doing this just to increase the credit value, but in the process of increasing the credit value, the community folks and the kampong folks actually get to benefit and be part and tap into this as well. Okay, I saw a question from Tom. How can the community farm also tap into this? Okay, if you don't mind, I'll be answering this in the Q&A session, because like I get that you already understand this and we're going straight into that point, but I need to explain a little bit about like how the whole concept works and how we can actually bring this carbon credit game up to the lowest level of like a farmer who has like 10 acres of land in his farm. How can he be part of this carbon credit game? So I'm going to get to that slide soon, but thank you, Tom, for the very insightful question. Okay, so our current partnerships, which honestly I haven't exactly updated the slide. We're also working with Unimas, we're working with we're working with Unimed, and also with Prince Songkla University in Thailand, as well as also NUS, National University of Singapore, in Singapore as well. All right. We also have like a bit of support from SDEC, from MDEC, from Meranti, from Cradle, from Endeavor, from Shell, and all of that lah. All right. So we are also a company that has been invested by Nexia. So Nexia is one of the main investors in our company as well, saying that like they want to actually grow in the sustainability region. But we will be raising our next round of funding by Q1 next year, hopefully with like a few other governmental bodies who are looking at investing in our company as well. So fingers crossed on that, because if we are able to do that, the kind of impact that we are able to actually do will reach beyond the Southeast Asia region, hopefully within the whole of Asia or even to major parts of the world as well. Okay, this is our team. So there's my CEO, Moses, myself, Ashwin. I'm the CFO and also one of the co-founders of the company. Apollon is our corporate strategist, focusing on our works in Thailand and Taiwan. Dr. Nish is focusing a lot of our research work, which is also involved in a lot of our work in Indonesia as well. And Ali is our Chief Technology Officer, who's basically an AI extraordinaire. All right, so EBTech is a trusted partner for delivering exceptional carbon development projects. That's basically our tagline. Okay, some of our awards and our recognition. For last year's IDEX, we were actually working along with Carbon GPT, which we have recently sort of brought on part of our team as well, to basically do carbon accounting and ESG reporting for the event. And during the event also, we actually won the Rising Startup Award by the Sarawak government as well. These are some other awards that we have won as well. So we've won the award from Cradle in the plugin as one of the Rising Star Awards, and we were also featured in BFM and also Cradle's podcast as well as one of the startups which are very focused in the sustainability sector. These are a bunch of other awards we won as well. I mean, frankly speaking, like as a startup in Sarawak, we're very blessed to the state government, because like they have actually supported us a lot in kickstarting a lot of our work. But let's face it, at the end of the day, grants are grants. What's more important is basically our clientele and our existing projects that we are doing. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Okay, these are some of our services that we offer. So some of our carbon credit project development that we do focus quite strongly on is basically, one of it is on nature-based solutions. So we do reforestation, agroforestry, sustainable agriculture, and also blue carbon initiatives as well. When we're talking about mangroves and seagrasses, that's a little bit more focused on blue carbon, whereas forests and agriculture is a little bit more focused on like green carbon. All right. The benefits of nature-based solutions is it supports a lot on climate impact. It protects the biodiversity, and this is the easiest way that we can actually bring in a lot of community development and community engagement as well. All right, and why EBTech specifically? Our standards are all very verified. We are very sure about how we are actually able to link up our credits and get our credits sold. We have very tailored solutions depending on different regions and different governmental regulations. We have ways on how we want to activate the project, mainly because when we have pre-buyer funding or investor funding to basically run this whole program and this whole project, it becomes a lot easier for us to then navigate and to be creative in how we want to go about this. We have to be very creative in coming up in methodologies and ways of getting our credits verified. Okay, I don't have much time left, so I'm going to just glance through the slides really quick after this. Another thing that we have is also a technology-based solution where we actually bring in biochar into the picture. Biochar is really good because it's perfect for carbon sequestration. Besides having a much, because the difference between a nature-based is where you're reducing carbon from the cycle. Tech-based solutions does carbon removal instead. So it removes carbon from the whole carbon cycle completely, which gives it a much better rating for its carbon credits. And also you have a byproduct once you have put the biomass through the pyrolysis system to actually come up with biochar or biocharcoal. So biocharcoal or biochar is actually very good for your fertilizer, and it's also sellable as well. So once you have the biochar, you can even sell it. So you have like two ways of income, and this basically increases like a lot of job opportunities for the community as well, while also allowing the stakeholder to also receive additional benefits for this. So why tech-based solutions is because we have data-driven insights, we have pretty advanced technologies to manage this, and we run by a very sustainable leadership as well. Okay, and then carbon credit trading is something that, it's pretty straightforward. We already have like a carbon trading platform. So this is how we basically allow the buying and the selling of the carbon credits. We do allow pre-purchase of some of these credits as well as also like having project development towards the credit issuance too. All right, so we have revenue opportunities where we have revenue sharing of the credits that's being sold, and we also provide end-to-end expertise to allow all of this to happen. Okay, another thing that we've been doing is also introducing sustainable. So this was first introduced during the Rainforest World Music Festival, where we basically try to focus on running sustainable events. All right, so by running sustainable events, one of the things that we do is like we can do carbon footprint calculation, where we can then focus on the reduction of this carbon footprint. We do waste management services as well. We create renewable energy solutions, and we also have a program called Echoes of the Trees. The Echoes of the Trees is a very interesting program, which has been funded by Tencent from China through our subsidiary, through one of our partners, which is basically Global Music Emissions Private Limited, based out of Taiwan. And how it works is basically we have this concept of like one download, one tree, or one ticket, one tree. If someone downloads a ticket or buys a ticket from our platform for the concert, we will pledge to actually grow or plant a tree with its QR code attached to our blockchain system. So everyone in the whole supply chain of managing this whole carbon credit of that one tree would have a direct access to it. So every person who's buying a ticket, every person who's going to watch a concert now can be part of the sustainable game as well. They can also be part of the sustainability supply chain. All right. And why this is good, it enhances brand image, it creates a great global impact, and it gives a much more greener experience for the attendees as well. All right, so another big part that we do, and we use a lot of our AI to do as well, is ESG reporting and carbon accounting solutions as well. This is something that like, okay, I'll get into more detail later, but basically with AI, now it's not a struggle for you to figure out what are your scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. What are your carbon footprint that you are doing in every part of your activities and whatnot. We basically have tools which help you with the consultancy part of this as well. So you don't need to hire us as consultants where we're going to charge you 100K, 200K to look at your documents and tell you what you can do. We'll just introduce an app for you which will do all the work for you. All right, so these are some of the projects that we have done so far. One of our biggest projects that's ongoing right now is what I mentioned earlier, Echoes of the Tree. This is a groundbreaking initiatives along with Tencent and GME to promote environmental awareness and sustainability through the universal language of music. All right. So if you guys want to talk a little bit more about this, I can go at very length about this, but because we don't have much time, I'm just going to summarize this here. If you guys are more interested on this, you can just come and DM me directly. If you want to engage this for any of your existing programs, your CSR programs, your events, your concerts and whatnot, just let me know. Okay, one of our ongoing projects is also currently in Kuala Krai, where we're taking about 8,800 hectares of rubber tree in Kelantan and basically getting it recorded under Vera in hopes to basically start carbon credit projects. Part of it, we are actually going to do sustainable logging in order to allow for us to do some bamboo plantations and some agroforestry products there as well. Okay, another project that we are doing, focused a little bit more on agroforestry, is in Nantau and Taichung, both in Taiwan. All right, this is both for above ground biomass and estimating carbon storage for cedar trees and also for Taiwan red cypress as well. So these are basically tea plantations and cedar trees. So these are of some interest to the Taiwan government as well that we are working on. Okay, this is like what I mentioned earlier, where we were involved in the Rainforest World Music Festival, where we were basically partnering with Sarawak Tourism Board to bring about this concept of sustainables lah. Okay, so we also did some community work with the Formosan Aboriginal Cultural Village. This was a little bit more focused on creating community and cultural engagement and trying to link it to the projects that we were doing in Taiwan to actually have some of the additionalities added inside, and including the Aboriginal folks and the community and the communities, the cultural communities, to be part of the supply chain as well. Okay, this is quite interesting. This is currently still in negotiation because we are going quite deep into a blue carbon project, which is actually based in Thailand, in a part called Trang, where they have like a lot of beaches over there, and they have a lot of manatees. So they are trying to use these beaches and mangroves as a way to actually encourage a blue carbon sequestration there as well. So this is currently in negotiations. And why this is still in negotiations is because this is going to be linking to a bigger project, which is coming from the same owner in Thailand as well, which is going to be happening in Laos. Yeah, this is quite interesting as well, because this is basically over 25,000 hectares of pristine forest land, which would be perfect to basically be creating a carbon sink over there as well. This is some of our tech-based solutions, all right? So we've got 2 biochar plants that's going on right now. One is happening in rural Borneo. Unfortunately, I can't mention which part of Borneo because it's still kind of PNC. It's some of our works that we're doing in the government. And another one is basically in the Greater Klang Valley. So this is from a private owner. So he basically owns the plantations and the mills. And he decided to use some of the feedstock from palm oil and from lemon myrtle to basically create biochar through this process. So these are some ways that we can also generate some carbon credits in this sector. Okay, some of our products. So we basically have a DMRV platform. It's a measure, report, and validate using digital means. All right. So this is what we mean by DMRV. MRV platforms are needed basically to get your credits certified, validated, and then later for you to actually be able to trade these credits, you must have an MRV platform. So now with technology, there's no excuse. We have to use it in a digital sense. Back in the days, how they do MRVs is researchers goes on the ground, they start writing it on a piece of paper, they go back, type it on a Word format, convert it into PDF, send it to Vera and stuff like that. With our current MRV platforms, through the few parameters on our app, we just put it in, it already comes up with one-click reporting, which is already ready to be submitted to Vera. And this is the reason why a lot of clients like to engage us as carbon project developers as well. Okay, this is our nature-based platform, DMRV. As you can see, it already links directly to our satellite imaging and our GIS services as well. Okay, so this is basically how a carbon credit system works. For more information, I think we would need to set up another time to go deeper into this. But in essence, a lot of our projects are now at this stage, with two of our projects in Indonesia, one in Medan and one in Pulau Nias, that has really gone into the sales of the carbon credit already. We have started selling to the likes of Sumitomo and Sakogyoto as well. So these are the few companies that are very keen and has already had a very foresight in how they want to go about implementing carbon credits. And this is basically like how a carbon credit project works. With the investor, they invest in developing projects. And while developing the projects, we being the project developer, EBTech being the project developer, we use all of these platforms and all of these technologies to basically allow auditors and verification bodies to check on how they want to do the things. And we will be submitting the report in order to get their validation and verification. And buyers will then come and purchase it from project developers like us, or they can actually purchase it from brokers or retailers. All right, so this is how the whole system basically works. Okay, so this is our carbon accounting platform. Basically, you create your chief sustainability officer, in your hand, rather than needing to hire like a whole department or anything like that. Okay, so from all of the things that we have done, you can just have one-click GHG reporting, and this is with accordance to the GHG protocol worldwide and the ISO certifications as well. Basically, key features, we have AI and ESG for technical knowledge, the business intelligence through AI, where we have scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and also one-click GHG reporting. Why we are very confident that we are able to do this is because we have this number of emission factors, more than 60,000 emission factors with 32 different data sources, which allows us to basically know what we are talking about. Different countries, different kind of methodologies, different kind of climate, different kind of areas, we are basically able to cater for it due to our huge library of resources. Okay, so a lot of our vision AI solutions is also related to this as well, because we use our satellite imagery to basically do the vegetation index where we can check the NDVI. Okay, this is also some of our expertise we have, our satellite and GIS expertise. Okay, so this one I'm going to go super duper fast because as you know, being in the ESG sector, transparency is a very important part. So we actually have to transparently show a lot of our progress and a lot of our things in the market. And the best way to do it is not through calls like this all the time. It's getting out ourselves on media presence. That means on newspapers, on websites, on blogs and whatnot. So I'm going to go through this really quick. You just roughly see lah. Okay, so this is our involvement, our coverage in Commercial Times Taiwan. This is in the Hakka News. This is in Taiwan Daily Network. This was in TVS where we were doing the carbon accounting for IDEX. This was also for IDEX in that daily. This is by TVS for our collaboration in Thailand. This is upon the investment into our startup. All right, this is the work that we were doing with the ministries and the provincial government in Thailand. All right, so is this as well. This is some of our JV agreements. This is a 3-year project to develop the carbon market. And this is our work with MGTC. Okay, and some of our ESG, some of our work with MSQ, some of our work with Thailand. This is our showcase in plugin. This is some of the awards that we won, the startups or the scale program, Shell LifeWire, Tegas, Diva as well, Demo Day, My Startup. And yep, so that's about it. Thank you so much for listening to me basically rant about tree hugging in a sense. But if you guys want to reach out to me, my number is here, or you can just reach out to Grace from RXA to contact me, or find me on Instagram at Ashwin. So it's AshWEIN. It's quite easy to remember. And yeah, that's all from me. I'm open for questions and answers. Let's go.
So I think we can move on to the Q&A from Tom and I saw Jacob. So on the community farm or garden into the funding, if you want to add on any points for that question. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So community farms and community gardens, see, if we want to tap into funding for actually doing carbon credits, okay, so I have to be very honest, the pre-buyers for credits and investors are very interested in large values of credits that they can actually generate. So why are they pre-buying credits, or why are they pre-investing in credits? Is mainly because they are seeing the benefit of not only owning a bunch of credits, because once they own these credits can then be resold again, right? So my idea towards community farm and garden tapping would not be on the basis of like, okay, we are going to generate credits that can benefit the people here. I would position it more towards like, okay, by doing some sustainable activities, some tree planting, some involvement with the community and stuff like that, these are additionalities that can actually latch on to existing carbon credit projects to say that like, hey, look, these carbon credit developers are also investing in community farms, in gardens, in giving them capacity building, in teaching them about ecotourism and sustainable tourism and stuff like that as part of this, so that these credits then increase in value. So what happens is you get a direct funding through cash and money to develop all these projects from the project developers. So if you have really good programs and stuff like this, you can engage EVTech. EVTech, through our existing carbon credit projects and whatnot, we will try to link this to one of the existing projects. So that when we look into like, yes, correct, to basically build a CSR and do it in like a win-win kind of concept. Very good, Tom. So that's how we basically can go about it. But it's very important to also understand the slight difference between CSR and ESG. CSR, you have to understand, is very one-off. It is basically company has additional money. They need to like spend it in that kind of sense. If you're talking about ESG is going to be ongoing, long-going, and lifetime kind of thing. Okay. So selling community farm to the corporation as a bundle, there are many mechanisms and there are many methodologies we can go about it. I don't think I can go through all of it in this chat right here, but off my head, I can already think of like three different ways we can go about packaging this to be very viable to the corporate funders, right? So probably we can talk more about this later, Tom. But it's very good to go down that line. And like you said, tree hugging is very big trend now, in a sense, in a way. But like the reason why it's a big trend right now is because there's a lot of incentivization going towards it. And this incentivization is not just to make people rich, but it's in order to actually flow and trickle the economy down to the community and to the true custodians of the carbon credits as well, which is the community and the native folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can take
All
like
right.
maybe one more question, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure, we can do that. Any more question from anyone? But if not, maybe I'll have one from my side. Because we saw like on AI powered carbon accounting just now and all the satellite based monitoring are some of your
Yeah.
solutions. So how do these tech advancements improve the credibility and efficiency of all the sustainability efforts?
Okay, so tech is basically I believe so much in tech more than in people, to be very honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
AI has came so leaps and beyonds from where we started when we are doing like manual data entry and stuff like that. A lot of check and
Mm-hmm.
balances is sped up thanks to machine learning and computer vision and stuff like that. In essence, I feel that like using satellite imagery and all of that saves us a lot of time, saves a lot of carbon emissions also, rather than to have us travel down, go on the ground to pick up the soil sample and check one by one and all of that, to allow a lot of our work to be done efficiently. Because bear in mind, any project that we are going into is minimum 5,000 hectares. There is no way you can cover 5,000 hectares on foot within a week to go and do your research and everything needed. But you can do this in 10 minutes using satellite imagery and all of that. So yeah, basically that's how we go about it. Just a quick one to answer what Tom is asking here.
Yeah.
The computing availability is not just directly to tree planting. It's for us to already assess which parts of the region that we can go deep into tree planting. At the same time, each and every one of the trees that we're going to be planting is going to have its associated QR code, or like its tag. And this tag is then linked towards our blockchain system, because blockchain is very important to ensure there's transparency and equal pay amongst everyone within the supply chain of this carbon credit. So why we are a little bit ahead compared to like a lot of other players in the market is because we're already introducing this. We needed, like I mentioned in the synergy earlier, you kind of have to begin with the end in mind, and you have to kind of predict how you want to go about this. So we started by providing blockchain services for certificates in universities to make sure that no one forges certificates and stuff like that. Then we realized that, hey, every carbon credit also a certificate is being issued. Why don't we put this on the blockchain so that everyone has access to it? It is public knowledge. ESG is all about transparency. So there's no hush hush about a lot of things. If the thing is legit, you can actually Google it and find it. But if you can't Google it and find it, a blockchain system will make sure that this information does not get tampered with. So that's how we go about it.
Okay, all right. I think that's about it. Thank you so much. Great discussion, everyone.